So welcome to Weld.com. Today I have new co-host Paul Brown. How you doing, Paul?
I'm doing fantastic.
Great. So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started in welding.
Well, when I was 5 years old, my dad took my little pedal tractor down to a local welding place and welded the handlebars back on. And from there, I was really intrigued. And every time we'd go to a car race or something and I'd see people welding, I wanted to look at it. Of course, my dad would say, "Don't look at that, you'll go blind."
Right.
I never got a hold of a welder until I went to college and had a sculpture class, and they hooked us up with a little old buzz box. And from then, this was 1971, I started playing around with welding.
Huh.
Got a job out of college working on tractor trailers. And then about 1981, 10 years after I first got hooked up with a welder, I decided I had to have an off-road race car. So I built an off-road race car with one of those old Tombstone Lincolns.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting because 120 feet of DOM tubing, and
right.
I built a car that got flipped over a bunch of times and no welds ever broke.
That's amazing.
Well, then I went on and with my regular career of being a photographer, a commercial photographer. And then my midlife crisis came around about 1996 to really get serious about welding. And so I went and bought a machine, a little small TIG machine, an Econo TIG by Miller. And I wanted to be able to weld anything together that could be welded. So the first thing I started out with was soda cans, okay, aluminum.
Well, they say if you can't weld a soda can, you can't weld aluminum.
Well, then the next thing I started working on was I was working for a major corporation developing training material, and they needed some frames made and this and that. And so I started making frames out of square tubing,
right,
for their displays, and one thing led to the other. And then the big crash of about 2000 came around in the photography business, where everybody and his brother had a digital camera and was now a photographer.
Yep.
And I said, to heck with this, I want to do something besides push buttons on a computer all day. And so I went to a local community college and took a plate welding, which was D11 steel, for both stick and MIG, 5 nights a week, 8 or about 6 hours per night. Made the dean's list. I'd never been on the dean's list in my whole life, but I loved it. And I'd go home at night and practice more welding and also reading books and really knowing what was going on. And I just decided I didn't want to do photography anymore and went and got a job making theatrical rigging, which is pretty serious stuff because people's lives are at stake if you make a mistake.
Right.
And so everything had to be to a certain type of code. And I did that for a few years. And then my mom passed away and I moved back down to Florida here where I'm a native, and just kept getting jobs here and there doing stuff, and got another job doing theatrical rigging, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I worked at a machine shop working on surgical instruments and custom tools, repairing big machines that might be crushers, rock crushers, building up shafts, where we had tight tolerances, working on big meat grinders that 3 people could get in them, stainless steel, and you had to be upside down on your head in this slippery old thing that had meat in it, and it smelled like someone doing a barbecue when you were welding on it with TIG. It was pretty interesting.
That's funny. So what's your most rewarding part of your welding career?
The reward I get is, one, repairing things that are very expensive and doing it in a timely manner and a quality job.
Right.
Also getting to see a lot of different things that the normal people don't get to see. And being a visual person, being an artist, it's like I just love looking at machinery and how it works.
Right. You're intrigued by the mechanisms, huh?
Exactly.
That's pretty cool. So what's your most exciting project you've ever done?
Well, I worked at a sewer plant one time, over 100,000 gallons of poo on a couple of 2x12s and no sling. But I got a chance to work on a Zeppelin. It was a 300,000 cubic foot helium Zeppelin. Now, the difference between a Zeppelin and an airship, the Zeppelin has a rigid aluminum hull or frame inside of it. and they can place engines in different places other than just on the cab.
Right.
And what happened was in a windstorm, the Zeppelin got pushed into the mooring mast and cracked. And this Zeppelin was made by Zeppelin in Germany. And we had all these prints that we got. We had specifications, both the gas, the filler rod, and it was aluminum, and it was 60 feet up in the air.
That's interesting.
And we had a little Dynasty 200 that we sent up by rope,
Right.
and had about 6 or 7 inches to stand on. When the Zeppelin was moored to this mooring stand, when the wind blows, the Zeppelin spins around like a clock.
Right.
So we were constantly having to move.
Right. Reposition yourself to make the repair.
Yeah, exactly. And the best part was we got an hour-long ride around Miami and Fort Lauderdale after the fact, which was really cool because the Zeppelin only goes about 35 miles an hour.
Huh.
And so we went all out in the ocean, and that was probably the most rewarding thing.
Cool. That is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So what's your experience here at Weld.com being a co-host?
It's very organized here and to the point. Got all the equipment we need to do anything. And it's just a very pleasurable thing being here.
Great. That's great.
You know, the camera guys and
Everything goes along with it. Yeah.
the only problem I had is I'm Paul and you're Paul, and when someone across the room would yell
Real
Paul, I go, huh? What?
Right. So what would you say to someone considering a career in welding?
I would say do it. It can be hot, it can be dirty, it can be noisy, but it can also be very quiet. If you're in a shop
Right.
doing very small things, working on TIG or something like that, it's smoky. Some of the smells are really good when you're grinding steel or cutting steel. I've always loved that smell because I used to live in Cleveland by the steel mills, and there's a certain smell to it.
Right.
I'd say do it. When I got into welding 20 years ago, the average age of a welder was about 54 years old.
Wow.
And they didn't have all the shows on YouTube or the Discovery Channel where people were going in and building hot rods and motorcycles.
Right.
So it was hard to learn. But by going to a school, they will teach you how to weld, and you can go out immediately and get a job. Welders are in great demand.
They are. They
Yep.
really are. Well, man, I really appreciate your input.
Well, thank you so much. I
had
really
fun.
enjoyed being here,
Great.
and I really look forward to doing some more of these videos.
Of course we will. We're going to do
fun.
plenty more videos. You know we are. Thanks for watching today. If you have questions or need help, go to our forum and connect with us, Weld.com/forum. Or if you want to check out exclusive content and member perks, join our channel and support the Weld.com community. See you on the next one.